Hi everyone. So thanks for listening in. And this is a conversation with Pandora, who is one of the essayists in Magic of the Pearl Pentacle and wrote one of my favorite essays. It's called Love is Art. And it's in the section of the first point of the Pearl Pentacle, no matter which way you go through it, which is love. And Pandora, would you like to say something about maybe even just the Pearl Pentacle point of love? Like, how is that with you right now in your life?
I'm really fond of the fact that no matter which way you're going around the pentacle, and so then you can have all these theoretical discussions and stuff, that love's always the part where you start, just like
Yeah.
that's it. So, hey, that's the beginning of all things. I think it's the beginning of things and it's the end of all things, that it is all that is really and foundationally. And I was thinking about this love in the pearl pentacle then being the transmuted sex point of the iron pinnacle, and so therefore being about an energy that's become communal. I've been thinking about that a lot, and about what I said in that essay is that love and art are the same. Love is not artistic, art is not loving, that they are actually the same thing. Art and love are the same thing, that there's actually no difference between them. We make a difference between them, I think, really to make them easier to think about, when both of them are really the great mysteries.
Hmm.
And so since they're the same thing, they are the great mystery, like what the hell are they? We don't know really, but we insist on doing them anyway.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about that, and the way that this idea of mine when we when we work in love, we are creating art, that when we create art of any kind, which is all manifestations of all things. I used to work I was a professor in a Catholic university, and I would tell my students, the way we know that we're created like God is that we're artists and God is an artist. It's the same thing. It's like, let's make some stuff, let's create some stuff. And it's all infused with this desire to move on out, to create, and then to love what is there. So it's
Yeah.
love of ourselves, it's love of the movement of creation, it is love of the created thing, it is love of the movement in between the created things. It's just all of it. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, because the state of the world right now is not one where I might say that at the global level, at the political level, that love and art are being manifested very much at all. And so it's extremely important not to fall into despair, whatever theological system you're working in, because then that's the thing that cuts everything off. There has to be there has to be some deep belief and some deep hope that it is worth walking through the damn world. It's just worth it. And I was remembering that what I am able to know of what goes on politically at a national level, at a global level, on the battlefields, in the camps, what I'm able to know is only what I am able to know has been created in this reality. And I do know that although all of those things exist, other things exist also, things which are not reported, things which do not rise to the level of being visible in this world,
Hmm.
but are deeply, deeply, deeply visible and deeply powerful in all the worlds between the worlds and all the worlds between the worlds, that they reverberate and that they matter. And so therefore, therefore, I there are people I love around the globe, and I communicate with them. I send them things. I talk to them. We create realities simply because we are talking and
Yeah.
because we love each other. And those loves create the world. And that is true for all the humans.
Mhm.
Even the ones, God help us, even the ones who, like you said, oh, look, okay, this person just cannot be redeemed. Probably not. There will be there will be things which are loved, you know? And
Totally.
it's so mysterious. It's so mysterious. And I don't know where the hell this is all going to end up. And
Hmm.
I sometimes wish I knew way less history than I do, because I
Yeah.
know a lot of history and I don't like what I'm seeing these days.
Yeah.
But but I do know it's worth it. I do know that love is art. I do know that love is real. And love is what actually constructs the world. The star goddess spins it out of her own body.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, lately I've been, when I'm blessing or invoking, I'll say something like, and the great mysterious force of love that binds all things together. And I believe that, I often don't use the term belief very often. And recently I was jesting that I wrote a list of things that I can't prove to you exist, except that I have a lot of anecdotal evidence for. And in that list was human kindness and love. Uh,
Yes.
you know, I,
I have seen them. I have
yeah.
seen them.
Exactly. And they do, I have a lot of experiential, anecdotal, direct encounter with it. But I feel like love is one of those ineffable things which is truly mysterious, and it has multiple dimensions that create us exactly as you are talking about really powerfully. How do you, I often feel like for me, I think it's important to hold the hand of grief, rage,
Mm,
to be real with the confrontation of that which is
mhm,
wrong, and all of my responses to that, and then to never also lose the hand of, what I guess Joanna Macy would call active hope, or what we in Reclaiming often call fierce love. But like,
mm,
I never want to lose that either. And often I feel like both holding both of those hands, there's something profound in that. I'm
mm.
wondering like what in all of the maelstrom for like in these times, like I live currently in so-called Australia and you live in the so-called USA, which, both of these countries
Isn't
that,
very united at the moment.
yeah, exactly. And they're both countries that have been carved out of indigenous land,
Mm,
countries born of empire and reforged empire. So I'm like, how is it that you like if love is a verb, as many people, including bell hooks, posit, like what are some of the things that you find yourself drawn to do that is love and art at this time?
um, I have weekly conversations, well, hour-long conversations, at least, with three friends in Ukraine, and so and also I'm making a baby blanket because one of them's having a baby. I'm very excited about this. If I ever go to Kyiv, I have a place to stay, and that is a very. It sounds like a very small thing, but what I think it means uh, is that there's three humans in the in this war in this war. They're not, none of them are in the occupied zones, but they get bombarded. There's three humans there who talk to another human in a very who lives in a who lives in a country that didn't has not been doing any the things that it said it would do for them,
Hmm.
but that listens to them and knows what's going on, because I pay a lot of attention to what's happening, and and I and who knows the history and who is even learning how to say things like "Duja dobre," stuff like that. That's my favorite. I think that sounds so nice. It means very good. And that means something. It means something that there's some humans in Ukraine who know that there are humans in the United States who are completely on their side. That really matters. So it matters that I'm crocheting a baby blanket. It matters that I talk to people. It
Yeah.
matters, of course, that I write my representatives and and it matters that I pay attention to what's going on and that I tell people because so many people really don't know what's going on or what the history of Ukraine is at all. And that's where my heart's been drawn lately. But
Mm.
now there's other things too. It matters that I pay attention to how to help when if we if I'm in Albuquerque, and so we're assuming even though ice has hit other places first, we are assuming that we're going to
Yeah.
be on the list. Uh, it matters that I know that I'm part of that community too, and it's because one of the problems for me, like if you go to like how can I help, a lot of times what you get is here's where you can donate. I the money, yes, 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 yes. But that's so frustrating for me because I want to put my hands in, you know? Uh and now I was as I said to you before we started this, I'm not as young as I used to be, and so
Mm.
therefore would not as you be as useful like on the front or it's like it's not really a good idea for me to chain myself to anything anymore because it's going to
Mm.
be a real problem for my community when my no longer healthy body goes into the jail and then we have to take care of me. We don't need that.
Mm.
Even though I'm now in very good health at the moment, I mean, my knees work, cancer's gone, that's great.
Mm.
But we just don't need that. I'm really aware of physical limitations and what that means for a community that's active, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very frustrating. And so therefore it's a line from Yeats, isn't it? Ah, yeah, sailing to Byzantium.
Mm.
Yeah, it's sailing to Byzantium is about being old.
Mm.
Any rate, yes, yes. So that's what I do. I focus on communicating. I focus on being loving. It really pisses me off that I don't feel like I have for many reasons I just can't go be at the World Kitchen
Mm.
and help in Kherson as I
Mm.
would. God, if I was younger, I would be doing things very differently. But yeah, I have to be this person now. It's been very interesting getting older. Language is important. I've been learning, I learned language. Reading a wonderful novel in Spanish. I'm learning my Ukrainian, all those. It's really important to know languages, I think. I don't think we talk about languages enough.
Yeah.
You know what I found out is I was trying to explain to one of my Ukrainian friends about because I was I did languages and whatnot, and I'm a professor of history, blah blah blah. And he asked a very good question: how can we know what Proto-Indo-European was like when it's not written down? And so I was explaining all this, and I sent him a map of where it's like where it moved on out. We Proto-European was like into India, and it's like, where Proto-Indo-European started. One of the main theories, the steppes of Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Exact region. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that we need to be really careful. We need to be really careful about not just colonization and 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 indigenous humans and peoples and cultures and how it is that history is moved in. We also have to be very careful about how things go back far, far, far into time. I think we have to be very careful. I think that we don't want to blow up the beginning of the particular family of languages that you and I are talking in. Although
Mm.
you know others.
Yeah, I know another one. And I don't think it is. I think it draws potentially from some of that family, but it's also a different family.
It's got to be. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for
Oh,
sharing.
by the way, if America manages to take over Greenland, which they don't want,
Oh
I'm
my
really
God.
looking forward to seeing how America, God help us, we're not very good at this. New Mexico is a bilingual state, but how many are? I don't.
Mm,
How they're going to deal with the fact that the language of Greenland is Inuit? How are they going to deal with that? Looking forward to that, but I hope it doesn't happen. Mhm.
yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. Did I talk about love is art at all? Did I say anything
Yes,
about love is art?
you totally did. You
Oh,
totally did.
language is art. So,
Yeah.
okay, language is
Yeah.
an art. So there is
I
a.
think I think everything you're saying is so linked to this, ever spiraling reality of colliding forces and histories, that underneath it all is this, hope and desire for the encounter of love, really, at the, and a lot of people fight and pray and lose and win inside of a reality that is forged by something else, but there are all of these acts inside of that which are deeply loving. And I think that's what, when you
Yes.
before you were talking about there's things that are not visible or reported, and often what's not visible or reported because it won't keep us in a state of like fear and anxiety, which those things are happening too, but
Mm,
is the small kindnesses and the profound ways humans tend to each other in this fiercely loving devotional way,
mm,
and a lot of it is just so matter of fact.
mm,
I do this because because it is because I have to. It's good to do it. You know,
mm,
it's
mm, mm, mm,
it's not self-aggrandizing. It doesn't get me into heaven. It won't put me away from the path of hell, whatever these things are. It's not
mm,
those things are not in the minds of people when people are doing those things. It's
mhm,
just
mhm,
like it just is creation as you're talking about this like co-created world of, well, this is how we create this world of love we hope for, kingdom of God or whatever you want to call it, but it's these acts of loving kindness. I guess that's what Buddhists would call it. But it's all there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And there's another aspect of it beyond the acts of loving kindness which we do for each other. There's also one of the things I've been learning from the Ukrainians is it's really important to enjoy life no matter what the fuck is going on.
Mm.
That as far as you can, like you have your coffee,
Yeah.
you make baby blankets, you find flowers, whatever is going on. And I
Yeah.
know that even, I mean, like no matter how bad circumstances get, that is a technique which can save people.
Well, if not that, then what else? I was reading this quote from Dan Savage the other day, and he was speaking about, in the 80s, when the AIDS crisis was just when people were just dying, they would bury people in the morning. They would go to these funerals, and then at night they would dance
You party. Yeah,
because
we
that's what
kept
they were
dancing.
that's what they were
Mm-hmm,
fighting for. And
mm-hmm,
if you
mm-hmm,
can't keep
mm-hmm,
dancing
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
in the midst of your wild grief and your despair and your anger,
mm-hmm,
what else is there? And then I see these like photos and films of Palestinian children dancing and the adults
mm-hmm,
giving them
mm-hmm,
whatever they can to,
mm-hmm. They
remind these
do.
children that they're loved. And
Mm-hmm,
I think that raucous, resistant spirit
mm-hmm,
is also very human.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and I really value it. Yeah, I've been learning a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Pandora.
You're
Do you
welcome.
have
I
any,
could talk about this forever, actually,
I
because more
know.
stuff is coming. But anyway,
Do you have it? Well, do you have any prayer or invocation or poetry or provocation that you would like to seal this with?
Lady of Love, help us know, help us remember, help us act, and let us especially remember that how we feel is not necessarily how things are, that how we feel is sacred, but it's not necessarily all of everything. Help us to remember infinity.
Thank you. Ah,
Yeah,